All right. So we're going to talk about pitching today. And there's one thing that I know about founders is that they really suck at pitching. Swala, maybe you can confirm this one, right?
It
As you
doesn't
know,
get better.
yeah,
Sometimes also late stage founders haven't learned it, although they have pitched so many times.
exactly. The good news is that it's a skill that can be acquired and something that you can learn. Um, I've been training many founders on pitching, and you can really go from being like pretty like bad or very average at it to getting really good on stage, right? It's just you need to practice a lot, and you need the proper like feedback loop in place as well. All right, so today we're going to talk about two different kinds of pitch, basically, like the what I would call the 5-minute pitch, the kind of pitch you would give to like an investor or like potentially even a customer. Like it's a different pitch, obviously, but they follow some sort of same structure. And the other one is elevator pitch, right? Elevator pitch is like 20 seconds. It's actually really difficult to nail properly. So we'll do this one towards the end, and I'll engage you to actually pitch your company in those 20 seconds. All right. So the 5-minute pitch. I would say one of the most important things about pitching is really projecting self-confidence, right? You might not have this self-confidence. And in fact, like many founders, like they are really scared to get on a stage and pitch, or like get on a meeting with a VC and pitch. It's a difficult exercise, but the confidence can be really faked with practice, right? Like the more you practice, the more you're going to get comfortable with it. And when I say like practicing, like founders I've been coaching, like they were telling me like, yeah, I'm pitching in the shower, I'm pitching like when I'm waking up, I'm pitching when I'm going to bed. Like it's just like it has to become like somehow part of you, right? uh, the great thing about like building this self-confidence is that it will, as an entrepreneur, it will radiate in many aspects of your founder's life. Like you're gonna get better at hiring people and convincing them to join you. You're going to get better at selling your product to customers, and so on. So that's why I put so much like emphasis on like really acquiring this confidence in your pitch. So first, obviously, you need to know like who your audience is, right? Like, is it an investor? Is it a customer? Obviously, like the pitch are slightly different. In the case of investor, like even though the structure is going to be like probably pretty much the same, at the end of the day, like you're going to give different sort of information that if you pitch it to a customer, obviously. But the goal is the same. It's to get another meeting, right? Like when you pitch to an investor, like the investor is not going to open the checkbook and write a check. Like you're grabbing their attention, and and your goal is really to get this next meeting. For that, you need to impress. You need to entertain as well, and that might actually sound almost counterintuitive, that you need to entertain, but that's how you're going to be remembered somehow, right? Like and I have many cases of that, of founders who are like really entertaining on stage, even though like the company was just like so, to be honest. But I meet investors like a year afterwards, and like the one pitch they remembered from like the 10 founders that I've been pitching on that day a year earlier was this one guy who was like super entertaining, right? Like so that says a lot about the power of entertaining and impressing people. Basically, you're trying to trigger an emotional response. So let's get into the kind of the structure of this 5-minute pitch. So generally speaking, and that's just like, you know, a rough guideline, but it's good to have it in mind. Introducing, you know, what you're doing. Then if you have a demo, you know, do a demo for 2 to 3 minutes. It's really good to show something. Like investors, they love that. They love when they can actually see something working, right? Because things becomes a bit more tangible than if it's just you and, you know, and your PowerPoint slides. Then you're going to talk about, you know, the business for a bit, and we get to that, and then there's like this part about how to land this pitch, you know, in a good way, in a way that, you know, stick with people. So how do you start a pitch? Well, you need to capture the attention from the first second, right? Like you cannot start with something that is just, you know, sort of, hey, I'm blah, and, you know, my company is doing blah. Or today I'm going to talk to you about blah. I just, no. Like you need to start really strong, right? Like, and the way to start strong and to, you know, to go back to what I said earlier about triggering an emotional response, a lot of time is through storytelling. That's how, you know, our brains are wired, right? Like, so don't start with, you know, like talking about your product. The reality is like, you know, we don't really care. Like we want to hear a story. We want to know like how this thing got started. What is it like? Why are you even doing this company, right? Like, and there's a story behind it. It should be a story. That's how you should probably start. You know, there's this saying that, you know, people have a tendency to forget what you said, but they remember how you make them feel. So again, like, you know, back to tapping into your audience emotions, it's really important to trigger those feelings. And, you know, your enemy during a pitch, that being on stage, even probably in front of an investor, there's one enemy. Who is this enemy? Could someone tell me?
Yourself, your fear.
That's one, yeah. There's another one.
Time.
This guy, so fun. You know, like people get distracted so easily, right? Like you start and like then suddenly, if you haven't really managed to capture their attention, well, this, you know, they're gonna go to their phone and like look at their last notification. So you got to remember, people have really short attention span. So we're talking about a 5-minute pitch, but ideally it could be even shorter than that. Now at Techstars, for example, you know, knowing that it's not a pitch on a stage anymore because we live in a virtual world for now, the pitch have to be like 2 to 3 minutes long, not more than that, because like by experience, we know, like we have like, you know, a lot of statistics to back that up, that people just don't watch a 5-minute pitch online, right? Like they might do that in a theater but not online. So like you really have like 2 to 3 minutes to give, you know, like a good impression and to give enough information to get this next meeting. You got to start with a bang, right? Like, and I don't know if we're gonna be able to hear the sound here. Can you tell me if you hear the sound? No, okay. I don't know how we do this. Because I'd like to illustrate that. Let me, maybe I can. Let me see if I can do this and stop sharing and hold on. And share with the sound. Hold on. Right, yeah. Hold on.
Thank you. By the end of this pitch, 147 people around the world will die through the food that they eat. There are 1.4 billion people around the world that suffer from long-term conditions. Anything from food intolerances all the way through.
You get the idea. You heard the song, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's what I mean with starting with a bang. It's really hard to ignore what, Pri, who's one of my portfolio company, pitch on stage. Like 147 people will die by the end of this pitch through the food that they eat. That's really something that catch your attention, right? Like it's not good news, right? Like, but it's something memorable, right? Like, so you got to find something that catch the attention of your audience in such a way. It doesn't have to be something like, morbid like that, but it's going to be through a story, through a very, strong statistic, like really something that people just cannot ignore. All right. So what about the demo? Well, if you have a demo, it's important to show it, and it's better to show a demo of something that just talking, endlessly about it. So show and don't tell, right? Like, how better are you than your competitors? Like, you can show all of those things through the demo, how you're gonna make the money, how you're going to acquire users. All those things can go through a demo, actually. You might say, what if I don't have a product yet? Well, it's fine. What you want to show is your vision of the future. That's what you're selling, really. You're gonna need to show them like how this product might look like in the future. So you might have like some, some mock-ups, anything that basically show, what is it that you have in mind and that you like, that you want to how you want to change the world with that. It can be in place of this demo. On the investor side, of course, like, there's one thing, which is how are they going to make money, right? Like, that's something that's always, there's two things that investors care about. It's like risk and like, what's going to be my return on investment in this company. So talking about risk, that goes into the biz section, so to speak. That's the risk section. So basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to de-risk through what you're saying. You're trying to de-risk the perceived risk in the eyes of the investors. So you're gonna have to talk about like, things such as your market size, right? Like obviously, an investors are about big opportunities. If you don't have some market numbers because no one has done it before you can still go through like very creative ways, right? Like remember, for example, the pitch of, what was it? I think it was SendGrid. Like this company got really massive, Texas company as well, which went IPO, got bought by Twilio lately. And back when they were, like doing Texas and pitching, like they were like, yeah, we don't really have numbers to show the market. Like nobody really has done that before. But what they did is like they took the number of emails that large companies are sending every day to their customers. And just that show like how big an opportunity that was to create a transactional email service to serve this market. Then when it comes to the, again, to the risk section, like what is your business model? How are you going to make money? You should not forget about that, right? Like making money is how investors, see the world. Like, if I invest that much, like, how much will I get in return? For that, we need to, as investors, we need to sort of feel that you have a money nose, as we say, and you need to be able to explain clearly what your business model is like. And then, how are you going to win on this market? What is your, what you're doing is different from your competition, right? By the way, speaking about competition, don't ditch the competition when you're pitching. I've seen that way too many times, like saying, yeah, we're like, those guys, like, they're not as good as we are. Don't say that, show it, right? Like, there's no need to ditch competition. Then, again, on the risk side, like, what about the team? Having a really strong team is a good way to de-risk a company in the eyes of investors. What have they done before? Is there anyone who had a previous exit, was like really, like deep insider knowledge on the market? What can you show that, bring trust to the audience? And that can be, through things like you might be young and might not have any experience, but you might have done things in your lives that really required a lot of resilience. Like, if you don't have anything in your experience that, in your professional experience, like, try to bring something like that. Try to show how much resilient of a founder you are. Then, a lot is about traction and of course, kind of time to market. But the traction is really, really important. It's like, how fast can you execute, right? That's such, I've seen companies, like good founders, like really smart people, interesting product, interesting market, but don't manage to really execute on their idea for some reason, right? Or they execute too slow, right? What investors want to see is like founders who can really execute fast, right? And that you shows through, different things. It can be like, you can put things on a timeline and say like, look, like this example on the screen, right? Like, in 87 days, we integrated 6 services. We've been tracking 500,000 artists, and so on. Like, all the numbers you can, put out there, and that shows that, you are really able to execute fast is a really good signal for investors when you pitch. And then the landing. So, I've seen good pitches that just landed really like low, and like, you should not end up like that. You need to end up with like a call to action, right? Like, what is the next thing that you want to get out of this pitch? And of course, another good way to make sure that people have a good understanding of what you said before is repeating the key elements of your pitch. Like, one of my first boss actually said that, the secret of education is through repetition, right? And I think that's really, really true. Like, you need to repeat things that are important so they stick into people's heads. So we talked a lot about the content, but now, delivery is also extremely important, right? Again, showing confidence, learning to pace your speech and to use some moments of silence, so it just sink in. And silence is also a good way to recapture the audience attention, because if suddenly you stop talking and people are on their phone, they actually notice to start talking, and they will just like, have a look and be like, okay, what's going on here, right? And then you start again. A good way to, and really there's no other way, to be honest, to improve is to record yourself and to watch it. And it's extremely uncomfortable to do that, right? Like, but that's how you're going to become aware of all those little things that you do while you're pitching, right? Like maybe you're doing a lot of to fill the silences, and you don't really notice it until you see yourself on video. The body language is also very important, right? Like it shows a lot about your emotional state and like, you know, how comfortable you are and how confident you are as well. So, you know, you see me even like, you know, talking to you with like gestures, right? Like but on the other hand, like I've seen also many founders who get on stage and that you can see that they are actually extremely stressed, right? Like they have their shoulders like that, or like they're just like playing with their hands, or like they put their hand in their pockets. No, you know, like just relax that and just like use your hands, you know, in a very normal way. And it's important to catch those things very early on. That's why it's important to record yourself and watch it, because the more you do it with the wrong gestures and like, you know, those little things that we do when we are stressed, the more they're going to also be part of you, and the harder it's going to be to correct them along the way. I think a lot of it is, you know, losing your self-consciousness, right? Like you need to be in the moment, and you should not think about how you're doing when you're doing it, right? So that's really related to ego and self-consciousness. Of course, it's easier to say than to do, but that's also why it's so important to rehearse and rehearse and rehearse until you really get it right. So what are the pitfalls to avoid? You know, monotony is one. Like when you hear someone, and that goes for, you know, any kind of public speaking engagement, really. If you use the same tone of voice, and, you know, like maybe you speak fast, and people actually have a tendency to speak faster when they are feeling stressed, which means that first, they are less understandable, like people really need to pay attention to what they say, and it's tiring. But also, it doesn't give you an opportunity to actually breathe, right? It doesn't give you an opportunity to use different range of, you know, of tonal voice. And again, you know, silence is a good tool there as well. Don't go too slow or too fast. Like you know, you need to have a certain dynamic in your speech, in some sort of way, where sometimes you're gonna go faster because like you want to show excitement, and sometimes you're gonna go maybe slower when you know, tell a story, right? To kind of also trigger those emotional responses. And by the way, the tone of voice, I've seen myself, for example, like changing my tone of voice when I do public speaking to be like much lower than normally. I don't really speak like that in normal life. It's just that a lower tone of voice also is associated with more trust, right? And you can see that, you know, in many videos, if you look at videos of, you know, either politicians or like, you know, thought leaders, you're going to observe patterns there where people really, you know, speak at a lower tone of voice, and also much slower pace than normally. If you're like me, and, you know, I used to be a very, very fast speaker, I really changed that, right? Like that really changed the way I behave on stage. There's ways to train that. Like you need to be conscious of it. Yes, Soela?
I just wanted to add up to what you just said. So this is specifically for women extremely important. So I realized as well that my tone or voice was way higher when I wasn't trained publicly speaking. I can definitely tell you from speaking Arabic that when I speak Arabic, my voice is much higher than English. It's a cultural thing. And it's scientifically proven. You need to work on really lowering a bit your voice. It shouldn't be unnatural, but it will definitely make your audience listening more and make your voice being, more capturing more attention.
Absolutely, yeah. Great. Thank you, Swela. And maybe it's like a few other things, like try to use a precise vocabulary when you're trying to explain something. Try to not use like something too general that leave people to think about what you're trying to say, or like try to construct a mental image of it. And last but not least, like not practicing enough, like it is gonna be a problem. Like you really need to know your pitch by heart and be able to say it in any condition, right? Like again, can be like coming out of bed and just like being able to pitch, or doing it under the shower. More pitfalls to avoid. If you have slides, too much content on the slide will just not fly really well, because what's happening there is, and that this is a good example actually of like too much content on my slide, is that you have this tendency to read, right? And then you're losing me. So try to keep it really, maybe like a few sentences, and that's it. You need to have like a sort of narrative. There needs to be like a continuity in your pitch as well. You need to, again, have like, in order to de-risk in the eye of the investor, you need to show some numbers. Otherwise, that's kind of weird if you don't have any numbers or improper ones. And some funders have also a tendency to lie sometimes, right? Like, and they don't see it as lying necessarily. They see it as, sort of embellishing the truth. But there's really like this fine line between embellishing the truth and plain lying. And if you lie, you're going to be caught lying, and that kills your opportunity. So just don't do it. Then, hopefully, like if your pitch lands well, you're gonna get some questions, right? And the more you're going to pitch, the more questions you're gonna get, but also the more you're gonna see patterns in those questions, right? So you need to write down those questions that you're being asked, and you need to practice your answers, and and be able to tell them with confidence. And if you don't know, an answer to one question, just don't lie about it, right? Don't just say like, let me get back to you on this one. I don't really have the number right now with me, but let me get them to you by the end of the day or by tomorrow. And one more thing, again, it's about entertaining your audience and showing a really high energy. And that is really, really key. It's, you can have a great product. And I had founders like that, like great product, good company. It's just like, don't put the energy into it. And it's just boring, and everybody falls asleep and nobody really notices them, which is, a missed opportunity. And on the other hand, I've also seen companies where like the business is just so, and like, but they do get investment actually, because, they're great at pitching, and it's a precursor for like being successful down the line when it comes to like selling your product to customers. Speaking of, hold on, I guess, do you hear the sound, by the way, of this one? Can you hear the song?
Yes, we heard him.
Okay, great. Like totally over the top, right? Like, but really hard to forget. Look at that.
I'm so stressed out trying to plan all of life's celebrations. I mean, I got little Susie's graduation, I got Ted's birthday party, and of course, football season is coming back. I want to plan a tailgating party for that. I wish there was one easy solution for me to order all my party supplies, just as easy as booking an Airbnb. Wait, there is. Party on Demand is your one.
So
This guy is so
that's
famous.
what I call energy, right? Yeah, it's even like,
He's so famous.
It's been framed as like one of the best like pitch ever, right? Like because you just can't forget him, right? Like every time I talk about pitching, I think about this guy actually, right? Like, and that's, like you want to be memorable, right? You want to be remembered. So again, energy and being entertaining is really important. How do I go to my next slide? Yeah. Okay. Good. Any questions so far?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
So my question would be, because you also say that you kind of need to engage the people, would it also make sense to ask the people like an intelligent question or something to get them engaged, or is that rather uncommon?
No, don't do that, because you just never know how they're going to react.
Okay.
And what you think is like, like when you do that, it's a natural tendency of pretty much everyone to try to start with a question. How many in this room have, blah, blah, blah. The thing is, like, you don't know your audience. You don't know what they will do. Are they even going to pay attention to it, right? And so, like, if you don't get the response you are expecting, then it's going to mess up the rest of your pitches, essentially.
I also want to add up to this because I did make this mistake already. I didn't know, and I was like, of course, I'm going to ask a smart question. And, it got me so nervous when I was a rookie in presenting that nobody responded. I was like, oh, gosh. So that's not a good start. And always keep in mind, like the first minute of your pitch, you probably are very nervous. You will smoothen down over the time. So what I realized, what I like very much is building a little bit of eye contact and a relationship with the audience. So like I use the breaks at the moment and say hello, and make eye contact with the people, connect with them, and then purposefully start very slow, because like Johann says, they take their phones down. That's the biggest enemy. I want them to listen to me. And once I get them a little interested, then the pitch goes typically pretty well. Another mistake I personally have made a lot, I always think that I'm a very funny person. I'm probably not, but I think myself all the time I'm so funny. So I always make jokes and tell stupid things. So obviously, naturally, I thought about, I'm going to do this on stage. It's going to be amazing. Nope. I am apparently not funny on stage. I tried multiple times. It doesn't work. So, honestly, forget about that. Even if you maybe in your private life you are like this, it doesn't work. But what does work is, I noticed when I'm in a big group with people at a table at a dinner, I know how to tell a fascinating story so everyone is excited. So I take this picture with me on stage, and I'm telling the story just as a dinner with friends, trying to make it interesting. So these are small tips that can maybe help.
Thank you. And maybe I also have a follow-up question. Well, not a follow-up question, but another question. What is a good length of a pitch?
So I think that depends, like, how your like, is it going to be like, online pitch? Is it something that, is recorded? Is it live? Is it on a stage? Like, those things have an importance, right? So typically, for example, at Techstars, back when we had like actual demo day in person, the pitch was 5 minutes, right? Like not more than that. like really strict on 5 minutes. But online it's different. Online, you know, like we tell founders like 2 minutes to really like stream maximum. Again, it's about like teasing, you know, like it's about, and the reason for that is that people online lose even more their attention than, you know, if they are in a room, right? Like, and watching you. So it's tough to get everything across in a really short amount of time, but, you know, like it's totally doable, right? Like, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
One more thing I might want to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, just real quick, because before in your presentation, Johann, you said record yourself and prepare your pitch. I want to stress out how important this is. And if you are running short in time, one trick that I found, because I always thought my voice sounds awkward. I was like, what's that voice? The voice is not how it should be. But it's like everyone hears the voice differently. So what I started to do, because I was running out of time, I sent myself a WhatsApp recording of my pitch. So once I'm on my way to the conference or I'm sitting already in the first row, nobody knows whatever I'm listening to. So I rehearse my pitch by listening to it. And I learned so much through this, how I speak, what I should leave away. And you know, you remember, because it's the pitch, even if it's not long, you will be nervous as hell. It's nerve-wracking to be in front of 1,000 or more people, or even a small group of people. So that can maybe help.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be happy to do like another session on I have sort of a famous workshop about like public speaking for introverts, because I am an introvert, and it took me definitely some time to, you know, like get out and get on the stage and be like sort of comfortable with it, right? So I'm happy to do that later. I don't know if this talk is actually scheduled or not in our workshops. Mohammed, you know?
I don't think it is scheduled, but I guess we can still.
If there's interest, happy to do it. All right, so now let's talk a bit about the elevator pitch, which is a different sort of exercise because it's much faster, right? Like, and you know, as Nicole, the chief investment officer at Techstars, she's actually extremely good at coaching founders on pitching. It is a fundamental building block in communicating your vision to others, because you're gonna have to do that, and you're probably already doing that like many times per day even. So yeah, it's really hard to get right. So the elevator pitch, you got basically 20 seconds, right, to pitch your company to someone. It's basically the time an elevator goes up. If you have a slow elevator, or if you're going really high, like it might be 30 seconds, 40 seconds, who knows. But we'll go through that. It really is a teaser. It's about, you know, communicating something that will again trigger interest, but in a much smaller, like shorter format than an actual normal pitch. And so there's kind of a formula for that, which is nice. And that's this one. For customers who have a problem, we provide a solution, right? And you just fill in the blank with, you know, who are your customers? What is the problem that they're experiencing? And what is the solution that you're bringing, right? And don't go for like, you know, 5 minutes on the solution, because that, I know it's a temptation, but being concise is extremely important here, right? Again, keep in mind, it's just a teaser, right? Like you're just meeting someone at a conference, or like, you know, through, I don't know, some speed dating matchmaking thing. you're gonna have to explain them what you're doing in a really, really short amount of time. So that's good framework to get at it. So here's an example of one of my company for parents who have a baby having trouble sleeping at night. So who is the customer? Parents, right? Identify customer group. We could even go like probably even deeper in like more specific than just parents who have a baby having trouble sleeping at night. That's a problem, right? Like everyone knows that, you know, like parents have generally this problem. We provide an application that analyzes sleep patterns and create personalized soothing sound to improve sleep. And here you have it, right? Like you have who is the customer, what is the problem you're solving, and how you're solving it in just like one sentence. Seems easy. It's really hard to get right. So again, who is the customer? And already that is difficult to, you know, like sort of nail down. You got to be like as targeted as possible there. What is the problem that they're having? Is it a real problem, right? And again, what is the solution they're providing? If you have a bit more time, you know, it's longer elevator ride, or you can use a few other things in there to sort of complement this basic structure. You can use the unlike method. Unlike, you know, our competitor doing that, we approach this problem that way, right? You can also say how you're gonna make money, and maybe like what's the secret sauce behind what you're doing. So, you know, there's a huge temptation to sort of frame your elevator pitch around some kind of very vague terms, like we are B2B marketplace for blah, 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 right? It just doesn't say anything about what you're doing, right? There's like many, many B2B marketplace out there. The real question is like, you know, how are you helping your, first like, you know, who are the customers, but like how are you helping them with the problems that they're experiencing? One good exercise is to write different versions of this elevator pitch and try it on different people as well. So you get some feedback, and like it's a very iterative process. Like you won't get it right the first time. It's totally fine. So now it's your turn. So I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to come up with this with your pitch. For customers who have problem, we provide solution. Go for it. Write it down, and then I'll ask you to say it out loud. Don't be shy. It's gonna be fine. Safe space. We are here to learn. All right. Anyone has it already? Wants to jump first?
I'd like to jump in, but if I might ask a question beforehand.
Sure.
Because my question is, I was wondering earlier when you were sharing the principles of fair pitching, this is very relevant, mainly relevant for, or actually always relevant. However, it's for consumer products. It's easier for consumer products to tell a story that's emotionally connecting with people, where people can relate to some experience. However, what do you think of business solutions, B2B solutions, that tend to be more boring to a story type of. I mean, it can be structured the same way. However, it's going to be less excitement and less kind of emotional type of pitch than the consumer solutions.
I don't think it does. It doesn't have to be that way, right? I totally understand what you're saying, but that's really where you gotta be creative somehow, right? Like, actually, the pitch that I showed you before from Me Like You, one of my founders, it was a B2B pitch. Actually, it was not B2C, it's always about, you know, really trying to find out like what is the pain that you're trying to solve, and like there's probably a story that can be said around it, whatever that is.
I also want to add, I'm a B2B investor mainly, and you know, every B2B customer, every business is a customer and has a problem, and you typically talk about efficiency, reducing costs. So there's always a problem that you're fixing, and then there can be a wider context that could be more emotional. Let's say, for example, there's a ton of inefficiencies in the production process. A lot of energy is wasted, you know, and this can be tied to wider sustainability targets. So it's always about providing a context and what your solution is about, which problem it's fixing, and then maybe, you know, bundling it into the right story. And then most likely, if you were to pitch your business, you will pitch it to either investors that invest in the B2B space or to potential clients. So they will care about your problem.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. And maybe a quick sharing, if you don't mind. I totally relate. I can't agree more on the preparation part, because maybe one of the errors I've made. I thought, yeah, I've spent my life in selling, in sales, in business development, customer pitching. But when it comes to a pitch of 3 minutes, it's completely different. You never get it nearly down from the first time. So really learn it by heart is the only way to go for it. So totally agree.
Yeah, and iterate also a lot on it, right? Like, try to see, like, you know, it's also good to really observe people when you're pitching, to see like when is it that they lose their attention, for example, right? Like it means that maybe like at that point, you know, it's a bit weak, and you need to either like have a silence or something.
Okay, totally. May I go for the pitch?
Let's go.
Cool. So Digital to Value is a platform accelerating digital transformation of SMEs, challenged usually to access quality advisory by connecting them to an ecosystem of certified experts and digital solutions, while leveraging a semi-automated digital transformation framework. And therefore, we disrupt classical advisory consulting.
I heard a lot of buzzwords in there.
Disruption, yeah. Never say that.
It's too dense somehow. And like there's too many buzzwords. Like I would really avoid the buzzwords, or like, you know, the very generic terms.
Is a platform for you a buzzword? Because it helps understand. So I relate to. So I totally agree that disrupting shouldn't be in the pitch sentence. However,
platform is very vague. Like a platform can be like so many different things that it's too vague. Actually, okay. You need to be like more specific.
Cool. Thank you.
Who wants to? Thank you for.
I can try.
Yes.
So for patients with chronic disease that have low health literacy and low adherence to treatment, we provide digital therapeutic education application.
Okay, that is pretty good, but I would be more precise in the solution part.
Okay.
Digital therapeutic solution, like it can be many things, right? So like you probably need to nail this one down a little bit more, like to give me like an idea about like what is it exactly, right?
Like with the pedagogical fun pedagogical videos and games to engage the patients.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Feel free, others feel free to give feedback as well.
Yasmin, I'd also include, because I know your business, with the information that you're providing, you're solving the problem that the patients don't know the full behavior, how they should behave in order to support the healing process. And you can make examples such as, the dietary plans, other educational behavior. And the problem that you're solving is that the customers, your patients, don't get a lot of time with the doctors. So they might have a lot of questions and don't have access to information. And what you're providing to them maybe is these pieces of information in a way which is very easy to digest for them. I remember you pitched this way when we talked first time, and maybe if you can combine these two, it would be better.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yasmin. Who else want to give it a try?
I could go next. Join here.
Yeah.
So for site owners and developers who struggle with site updates and maintenance, we provide a low-code solution that grants you a bird's eye view on all your sites, a summary of statistics at a glance, and a one-click update option on various features.
Okay. I would maybe go more into details into these one-click options in the various features, because that sounds like it doesn't really talk to me. It's maybe too vague. Like the first part was actually pretty good. So, what do you think?
Yeah,
I think I agree. Also, the problem could be, a bit more precise, because what is a problem that you're fixing for the customers? Is that they don't have the technical literacy, or you're making it easier for them? And that talks to what Johann said about the one-click option. So you're fixing a problem.
Let me try. Okay, for patients across sub-Saharan Africa who have trouble accessing healthcare solutions, we provide an opportunity for them to chat with a doctor, buy medication from a pharmacy, book labs and diagnostic tests, and have a doctor visit them at home via mobile app and SMS service.
There's a bit of a repetition, I think, like with mobile, if I remember correctly, but it's pretty good.
Okay.
You nailed it, Daisy.
Yeah. Definitely. Lydia, yeah. Who else?
Okay, so Loha is a learning platform for students aged 8 to 16 who lack access to quality ICT courses. So we provide an online interactive learning platform so they can have access to quality information technology courses.
Okay, do it again.
We provide for students aged 8 to 16 who lack access to quality ICT courses. We provide an online interactive learning platform so they can have access to these courses.
I would probably go a bit deeper into the solution, so it doesn't, because like an online, I forgot how you say it, like an online platform, it's quite vague. Like, what is it about it, right? That is different, maybe.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
A natural question for a pitch like this will be how you make money, who are your customers, who are paying. So is there a way to include that in the pitch? That's super helpful.
Lydia, you unmuted yourself, so go for it.
Yes, so I have to say I had a problem with the problem, but let's go. For conscious consumers who want to reduce their ecological footprint, Plenty Africa produces beauty and nutritional products from cocoa using the full potential of the cacao fruit, and thus reducing the usual 80% of waste.
Mm-hmm. Can you do it again?
Yes. For conscious consumers who want to reduce their ecological footprint, Plenty Africa produces beauty and nutritional products from cocoa, using the full potential of the whole fruit, and thus reducing the usual 80% of waste.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
Quick comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
I think it's a bit of a the marketing talk comes out a lot for conscious consumers. So talking about your segment, it's not a bad thing, but I still try to understand what's the problem. So if the problem is that in the cocoa business, high amount of high percentage is wasted while providing great benefits, and if the entire fruit, I'm just making this up, would be used, you can actually provide an excellent product while, you know, offering it a very good price ratio, which allows more people to tap into those resources. I mean, it's a long story I'm making up, but I'm trying to grasp what is the USP here. And you're talking about the conscious consumers, and then the ecological footprint, and then the waste at the end. I'm trying to connect the dots. So if you were to answer the questions that I have just posed to you, maybe the pitch could be a little bit sharper. It was for me a bit more like a marketing claim, a tagline.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The thing is, that's what I meant with I have a problem with the problem, because I don't know. I'm not like a tech business solving a problem, I guess, but I'm offering a great product. And so yeah, I'm not solving like anything like a major problem, or I have consumers, and I guess I'm rather convincing with the design, and not with something that people are in dire need of.
But when you're using a beauty product, you have a problem. I have dry skin, I'm using a beauty product. I have maybe, you know, sensitive skin, I need a full natural beauty product. So there is a need behind the use of a product. I don't know what your price points will be, so I don't want to say, you know, it will be great price, quality, whatever. But this, if you're looking more in depth into your target audience, could tell you specifically what is the need that you touch up on with your product. And I think that should be included. And if you then combine it with saying, and on top of that, it's very resourceful because we are actually eliminating a problem, which is 80% waste, you can come up also with two benefits. Johann, what do you think?
Yeah, could work.
So the thing is, I don't have one product, but the variety of products is basically the solution, because making various products from the cacao fruit is basically the solution, and not just using the cocoa for chocolate. So yeah, but yeah, I was definitely struggling with the elevator pitch.
So maybe the problem is more related to the cocoa industry, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that might be actually how you want to frame it somehow.
It can be straight up a sustainability pitch. Current industries, due to historical structure, the current industry, 80% of the cacao product plant is wasted. While this is high quality product, which can make up for a beautiful beauty product series. And this is what we're doing with our offering, and we're serving these type of customers. So I would switch it around. Because this shows the impact of your business. It might even enable you to tap into impact funding resources, investors that particularly look for the impact of your business.
Okay, thank you. That was a really good tip.
Yeah, you might want to start with, maybe like a strong statistic about like the waste of this industry. And then, your your product actually is somehow like, part of the solution for solving that. So it's going to be less about like, necessarily like customers, because obviously like your market is, it's really hard to pin down, right? Like, and you say it yourself, like it's conscious consumer, like it's very large, like market somehow. So I think, yeah, like trying to spin it in a way that, you put the sustainability aspect in front of everything might be the way to go there.
Okay, thank you so much. That actually really helps. Cool.
I know we're over time, but like happy to listen to more pitches if you have one. Who else wants to give it a try?
Amanda has a great pitch. I'm just reading it. Amanda, come on.
No, she doesn't know.
Noisy. That's why I'll answer in the chat, Amanda.
Yeah, I think she said her background is noisy. So
okay.
Not on the rest of.
Okay. Yeah. So here is kind of a bit, like another version of this elevator pitch, like a more extended version of it, right? Like, so, you have the same three first, principle, like for customers who have problem, we provide solution. And then if you have a bit more time, you can say like, what is your secret sauce to do so, right? Do you have anything that is unique to your company that you want to put there? And finally, you might want to also put like how you monetize, or even talk about a bit of traction, right? Like anything that's gonna grab the attention of the other person. So sometimes you hear a pitch and it doesn't sound that exciting, and then this person says like, and we have like, already like 100,000 customers after 6 months. And you're like, oh, okay, hold on, like, can you repeat this one? Like that might be like, so you need to also know like what are the really strong points of your company, right? Like maybe you've achieved like a great traction in a really short amount of time. That's something you need to put in there to grab the attention. So like if we go back at my first example, with the baby sleep app, so the first part is the same for parents who have a baby having trouble sleeping at night. We provide an application that analyzes sleep patterns and create personalized soothing sound to improve sleep. We developed our own neural network based on sleep expert advices. We provide this as a monthly subscription service for 30 euros, and so far we have 1,000 paying customers, right? Like that extends the thing a little bit. It still remains probably under like 30 seconds, right? So that's still quite good. All right, so just maybe like a few other tips to conclude. Again, like make sure to observe feedback when like pitch really to everyone, right? Like that's really important, because the more you're going to practice it, the more it's going to be part of you, and the more also you're going to notice like where potentially you lose people's attention, where they have questions, where they need you to like be more precise and sort of things. And if you have a team, make sure that everyone on the team can pitch the same way as you do. It's not too complicated to just remember like a few sentences. It's extremely important that everyone on the team can pitch as well, because they might also meet some people who could be like opportunities on the line. And that's it. Oh, yes.
Don't stop, don't give up. Keep trying, don't give up.
I love this one. It's not my daughter, by the way, but it's just a random video. I found it like the best video for Blunders. That's it. Thank you all.
Super cool, Johann. Thank you so much.
Sure, my pleasure.
Yeah, amazing.
Any questions? Anything we can answer?
Actually, I have a question. It seems to me that this speech is more adapted maybe to an investor or a large audience, but how would you adapt it more to a customer type of audience?
That's a great question. So obviously, you know, like some things will remain the same, right? Like it's just that maybe you're not going to include some aspect and like emphasis more on some others, like what is the benefit for the customer, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a bit difficult to, without like concrete examples, somehow to sort of get it out there. But what would you say, Swella?
So in your case, Yasmin, it's because we're both Moroccan, so I know a little bit the cultural context. You know how it is in Morocco, if you have a disease, everyone tells you what you should do, should not do. Everyone tells you something different. So all of your customers can relate to that. They go to a doctor, they're nervous, and then everyone, the people that they know, will give them a different advice. What you give them is concrete educational information that are validated by doctors and are 100% right and easy to understand.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Sarah. Sephora wanted to pitch in French. Tu peux pitch en français, Sephora. Pas de souci. Vas-y. Sephora? Ouais.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Ma grand-mère a souffert d'ostéoporose pendant plusieurs années.
On a du mal à t'entendre, Sephora.
L'ostéoporose est une maladie qui fragilise. Bonsoir, vous m'écoutez?
Ouais, je t'entends, mais il y a beaucoup il y a pas mal de bruits de fond qui sont difficiles de t'entendre. Essaye. Parle. Vas-y.
Bonsoir, vous m'écoutez toujours? Il y a toujours des bruits?
C'est un peu difficile, mais on va essayer, Vas-y.
L'ostéoporose pendant plusieurs années. D'accord.
Maybe you can switch off the video.
C'est une maladie qui...
Peut-être tu peux essayer sans la caméra.
Pardon, allô?
Ouais, peut-être essaye sans la caméra, peut-être.
Ok. Oui. Que ma grand-mère Madeleine a souffert d'ostéoporose années. Et l'ostéoporose, elle a essayé par tous les moyens de lutter pour sauver sa condition, mais malheureusement sans succès. C'est face à ce problème que j'ai pris la ferme résolution de combiner les vertus thérapeutiques du lait à celles du baobab pour faire un délicieux yaourt de baobab riche en vitamines, en calcium, en magnésium, en potassium et en fibres, qui permet de renforcer naturellement ses os pour changer sa condition, mais aussi celle de toutes les personnes âgées, afin que le cas de ma grand-mère ne se répète plus.
Okay. Je crois que j'ai à peu près...
Yaouba est une start-up qui fabrique du yaourt à base de baobab.
Ok. Pour le elevator pitch, peut-être pas je serais beaucoup plus direct et je dirais pour pour les gens qui ont un déficit ou les personnes âgées, en fait, là, il faut vraiment essayer d'identifier quel est ton client. Est-ce que c'est plus les personnes âgées? Est-ce que c'est plus... Oui.
Il y a des personnes âgées, des femmes ménopausées, des sportifs et les adolescents.
Et tous ces gens, ils ont une déficience qui cause l'ostéoporose, c'est ça?
Oui, oui.
OK. Donc, ce que je dirais, c'est pour les personnes âgées et plus généralement les gens qui ont une déficience causant l'ostéoporose, j'ai développé un produit qui est un yaourt à base de baobab qui permet de renforcer la structure des os tout en étant délicieux à manger.
D'accord.
Donc, c'est relativement court. Il faut essayer de le garder assez court. Mais par contre, avoir l'histoire avec ta grand-mère pour le pitch normal de 5 minutes, ça, c'est totalement ce que tu devrais faire. C'est la bonne manière de commencer pour un pitch normal. Pour un elevator pitch, je le garderai beaucoup plus court.
D'accord, donc juste les clients, le problème et la solution.
Exactement, exactement.
D'accord, merci beaucoup.
J'en prie. Ok, je lis les commentaires. J'étais complètement. I'm reading the comments because I didn't really read them till now because they were hidden.
All good. I kept following the comments with Mohammed.
Okay.
Just mentioned Slack. There's so many.
Right. Yeah. Slack. Yeah. Please make sure that you check Slack regularly, right? Slack is our way to communicate with each other. It is really important that you be on there and, like that you engage in conversation as well. So like, we get to know you, you get to know us. And more importantly, you also get to know each other, right? So yeah, make sure that, if you don't know how to use it, or if you don't have access, just let us know and we will help. Good.
Thank you, brave founders, for pitching in front of us.
Yes.
Much appreciated.
Definitely. I know it's difficult, but, that's good practice. And, that's really something that you'll keep, all along your entrepreneurial journey. So, yeah, something really important to work on. Great. Thanks, you all.
Johann.
Yeah. Thanks.
You're the best. With back pain and everything, and you're here for our founders. We love you.
Thank you. Cheers.